Guys, I hate this video so much, you know what I mean? Because like, while I totally agree with the idea of doing business with replenishable products, that's what I preach here all the time, but not if they're illegal products. Like, don't do anything illegal. What is this? Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Pegasus Lounge. I'm your host, Mason T, and let's get some lights on in here. Oops. So today I was intentionally going to make a video specifically about flipping and how to progress it properly, okay? Because there are a lot of people who are out there as a reseller and they enjoy the idea of reselling. However, there is a struggle involved. There is a burnout involved. There's a lot of busy work. So how are you supposed to do this properly without all that burnout, without all that busy work and stuff? Because in the beginning of reselling, you don't have burnout because it's manageable. And why is it manageable? Because you have less SKUs that you are working with. You're still building up your store to 20, 30, 40, 50 items, but now you're at 300 items, 1,000 items, 2,000 items, and it's very chaotic. Well, the proper way to do it is to scale not by volume, but rather by value. But the problem is, how do we really do that? Okay, you have to start going to next level items. And the way to think about it, right, is that, okay, we're going to start with everyday items, shoes, hats, gloves, whatever, jeans, anything, right? And then we're going to increase the ticket of the item because that way it's more worth our time to do it. Because ultimately you still take photos, you are still creating listings, you're still going out to source stuff. That part doesn't change. So you want to increase the ticket of the item. That way you are making more money without having to incur so many more SKUs and items and stuff, making your business less and less manageable. So what is a good next level item? I was going to think, more of the luxury items, right? Where it comes to maybe if you did sneakers, now you would do like high-end sneakers or rare sneakers. The same thing idea with handbags and jewelry and watches and stuff. And one of them that I thought of that I thought might have been pretty cool was specifically about perfumes and colognes, because, it costs a pretty penny these days. Some of these perfumes and colognes could go up to like $500 for a medium-sized bottle. You'd be surprised. But what I came across instead was some of the most incriminating things that I've ever seen in my life. So this is a kid, his name is Connor Resells, okay? And I just want to show you right here that he is basically reselling a whole bunch of replica, merchandise, okay? I believe it's absolutely illegal and the repercussions is bigger than you think, all right? A couple of people on the top comments over here are calling him out on it, but you got to also see that there are many other people, right, who are, thanks bro, trying to get like you, and then, flexing nice watch and stuff like that. I want to start doing it, but is it even legal, etc., right? And I think that is, one of the biggest problems right now with Gen Z, okay? I don't know who raised you, but definitely we need to start spreading our wisdom to the next generation, right? Because that's what true mentorship is, helping people catch up because you don't know what you don't know. So we're gonna watch this video together and I want to show you his tone, his attitude, and everything as far as reselling goes.
If you tapped on this video, it's probably because you're trying to resell colognes. In this video, I'm gonna drop everything I know on how to resell colognes and how I make $7 grand a month, and the month isn't even over. This video isn't a challenge video or anything like that. It's just my experience reselling colognes. If you guys stick to the end of the video, I'm gonna drop you guys an extra tip that'll boost you from only making 1K reselling to even upwards of 10K. But for anyone new that's just starting reselling, what reselling is where you find a vendor or supplier to source you products like these that are one-on-one exact replicas of the real products that you are now able to sell for a discounted price because they're replicas. But since they smell so good, a lot of people will message you, a lot of people will buy from you, and you get high profit margins because you get them cheap. So that's a quick rundown on reselling. Now I'm gonna get in depth on how to actually start and how to start making real money doing it.
I know a lot of you have exactly the same question that I have in my mind as well, right? These replica stuff, how do you know they're safe to put on your skin? It's one thing to put on some, you know, fake Jordans or something like that. It's another thing to be spraying chemicals on your body that you don't know about, right? There's no one for you to sue. At least, like, you know, you put on some Dior, you put on some Louis, and something goes wrong or whatever, you have a case, right? These are replica items. This is something completely different. Now, there was a ton of pushback on this in the comment area, and you know, basically his response was, I trust my supplier. And people's response were, well, so he told you that they were okay. So there's just so many things wrong right now that, but I just want you guys to know that I'm thinking exactly the same red flags that you're thinking.
Step one of reselling is finding a vendor supplier. You're not going to be able to sell any products if you can't get any. So what a vendor supplier is it's someone who sources you these products for extremely cheap, and they're exact one-of-one replicas of the real products. For example, I'm gonna choose, let's do Baccarat, it's pretty popular. It is an exact replica, every word, everything. You have all the prints, and you even have QR code plus the barcodes at the bottom, even in different languages, like the real bottles. And if you don't think like anything good's on the inside, here's one of the LV ones I've opened. You could feel the print right here. It has the text on the bottom and even the magnet cap. But if you don't want to spend hundreds of dollars trying to find a good vendor and all your time waiting for the products to come in, you can go ahead to my website that I'll link as the first link below, and you can buy my clone supplier.
You know, I know there's a lot of people who are against big box brands, and they think, you know, the idea of like, you know, charging super high for like these brands and stuff like that, you know, there's something inherently wrong with that. But this is not the answer either. You know what I mean? Because this is just flat out illegal. I'd like people to know at home that when you do something like this, okay, this is not a slap on the wrist. Do you know what the penalty is in some states for counterfeiting? We are talking about 10 years in prison, okay? And the thing is that if you do this in a group, or like, you know, your parents helped you, or somehow they could build RICO charges against you. You know what a RICO is? Look that up. That's no joke, all right? And you do not want to end up in prison for this kind of petty counterfeiting, right? Because you will be at the bottom of the food chain. And not to say, you know what I mean, I advocate for being in a better position in prison, but I'm saying you get busted and you go to prison for this, oh, you're going to have more to pay than just fines and other stuff. You know what I mean? Your life is ruined doing this.
I have a lot more. You can buy the whole bundle if you want to try other niches.
I just want you guys to know it is not a slap on the wrist at all.
Once you pick up your vendor or find one, you can go ahead and place an order. It doesn't matter really what you order. I would recommend, if you're doing cologne, go ahead and get some Tom Fords, some Baccarats, and LV. Guys, those are the best selling, but it's up to you what you feel like you want to order. So once you make that order, you can go ahead and pick it up at your doorstep like this.
This is like one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life. Clearly, okay, I think the feds can take this shipping label right now and photo enhance. And you know what I mean? Guess who's coming to your door? Guess who's coming over for tea? What?
Now that you received your colognes, you're gonna want to line them up like this and start taking photos. This is step 2.
Guys, you remember when we were kids and they used to say like it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? Right? Do you know what your children are doing? This is clearly a kid.
All about listings. You want to list them up. You want to get them sold. So you have to list them.
You could hear it in his voice.
First step to that is getting good pictures. So you want to line them up and do a bulk order post saying you wholesale them. And then you also want to take one by one and do some nice photos like this. Get all sides, get the barcode so they can see and they can scan it and search it up and get them posted. Once you guys take your photos of your clones, you're gonna want to go ahead and list them on places like Facebook Market.
So you want to take shots of like the barcode and everything. Why? Because you're not going to list them as a replica. So it's even more of a rotten thing to do, right? Because you definitely don't want to list it as a replica because that's a clearly illegal activity. So then you're going to sell it to somebody as a legit item. You know, guys, stuff like this, you want to know how you get busted? There's many ways that you could get busted, but the clearest one, right? The clearest like open and shut case is from secret shoppers. Because what happens is that if they see one of your listings and you are selling decent quantity at below MSRP prices, because that's what you can do, right? You have bootleg stuff, okay? And therefore you have excellent margins. So therefore you can come down, way below MSRP. And then you're moving, 100, 200 units sold that it says on your listing and stuff. People are going to want to look, what's going on with this. And if the authorities get involved, eBay will not actively snitch on you, but they'll give you up if alerted by the authorities, right? If they want your, back end information or whatever, eBay will give it up. That's so don't. This is, oh my God. I don't think I need to say. As far as everybody who watches this channel, all of my subscribers, I know we are of a much wiser demographic, but I just got to show you that this is what this is actually happening. I'm just as much in awe of it as you guys are, that somebody would go as far as post this. Sure, there's always, bootleggers and stuff like that, but
you want to list on places like eBay, OfferUp, and places like that. But
you know what I mean? And then we're the mark of a reseller along with you guys, right? He's also making, reseller content, because look, it says in the title on the top left, how to resell cologne, right? Q4 full guide. You make it sound like you're a legit reseller, like the rest of you guys who watch my videos. What is this?
Once you get all your listings up, you'll get a ton of messages just like that. So once you get your messages, you're gonna want to answer them. You can negotiate, you can do whatever you want, go to the price you want, doesn't really matter. I found the sweet spot is about 160 for most of these.
I hope you get a message from like the reseller, counterfeit version of Chris Hansen. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It'll be a new TV show called To Catch a Bootlegger, you know what I mean?
Not for the Dior and some of these other ones because they are a bit cheaper.
Ooh.
But for these $500 ones, $350 that are very, very popular, and like another $350, you can list them, at least get EG 160. When you're talking to them and you're choosing a meet spot, don't meet at your house. You are selling replicas. Even though I tell people I'm selling replicas, it's just never a good idea to meet at your house. You don't know what kind of person you're meeting or anything like that. So play it safe.
We're meeting up now too?
Halfway if they kind of live far, just to make it a motive for them to come buy your cologne. If you're needing listing photos for your colognes, I have a few in my Discord for some of them and a lot of other free resources.
So look at the photo, guys. He's got the rollie in the photo, right? And I've noticed that like he's been flashing the Rolex on his wrist the whole time. I think it's probably like an Oyster knockoff or something.
So you guys could check out. That'll be in the second link below. You guys can check that all out. It's free. Now that you're selling and actually meeting up with people, this is where you're going to be getting rid of your stock. You're going to be selling, getting rid of all your stock until you have little to none left. But you're going to want to order when you're about halfway done with your stock, so you can always stay replenished. Because when you don't have one that somebody wants, you automatically lose out on the sale, and that's just losing money. But you should never just go willy-nilly and spend your money. You have to reinvest it. Otherwise, you're not going to hit that 10K a month mark or make the figures you're trying to make.
Guys, I hate this video so much, you know what I mean? Because like, while I totally agree with the idea of doing business with replenishable products, that's what I preach here all the time, but not if they're illegal products. Like, don't do anything illegal. What is this?
So you have to start restocking and reinvesting. Even I have free resources on label printers and stuff like that in that Discord that you guys can check out, and it'll help you boost your sales, reselling, and bring down some costs. But you guys
help you boost your criminal activity?
Have to reinvest in this business at least until you hit at least like 100 clones a week orders. Then you don't really have to worry. All that profit you could take and pocket yourself and have a system going. Now that you're reinvesting though, you're gonna want to tap into other niches such as Rolexes, spider hoodies, electronics such as air.
Wait, let's go back 1 second. Oh my goodness. Kid, what are you doing? Right, I was right. It's a oyster perpetual. You know what I mean? You see, you could tell that he's a kid, right? Because it's not even a knockoff Daytona, right? Like you know nothing about watches, right? It's just a standard oyster.
As Rolexes, spider hoodies, electronics such as AirPods. I wouldn't totally recommend phones, but you could do phones and everything else I've listed. That's why I totally recommend getting the all vendors bundle. Then you don't have to worry about after you tap out of the colognes, or you could do multiple to max.
He's talking about like some kind of portal, right? All vendors, like whatever. Because real quick, if we just had to zoom out real quick, right? And I pull up Alibaba over here, look, you could do, you know, luxury watches, and these are these like, you know, Fugaze Rolexes and stuff, right? This one at least has the decency to just be a complete blank, you know? But you could totally like do this kind of do not import this kind of stuff. Like you know it's wrong. You know it's wrong from a distance, right? Like I just pop in Tom Ford over here, like $12 to $16, $3 to $4. Are you insane? Don't buy these things. You know what I mean? Alibaba is an excellent source, but you know you're doing something shady. That's terrible. Let's come back to this video. Oh, I just wanted to show you guys, right? This is what he looks like. This is who he actually is, right? Let me just play 2 seconds of this.
But before I get into the video, I'm gonna show you guys I've actually made money with reselling, and I've actually sold the products I'm gonna be telling you guys about.
So now he's got like a whole bunch of Apple stuff as well. Kid, what are you doing?
Maximize profits, but you don't have to worry about going back and buying more. But the one tip I promise you guys is using keywords. On Facebook Marketplace, you wanna use keywords so your listing, instead of being down here, it'll be all the way up here like this one, even though these are just a For You page or like cars and stuff. But you want your listing higher up, so it's one of the first things people click. So make sure you guys use keywords, especially for cologne.
He's teaching keywords.
Cologne, scent, fragrance,
Oof.
smells, anything like that, just to boost your listing up to the top. But that's my experience reselling colognes. I'm scaling and scaling every week, doing better and better. But you guys have to tap into this before it gets too big and saturated, so you could start making bread too. Guys, don't miss out on this opportunity. You guys can get my vendors in the first link below, the Discord.
I'm stopping it right here. We're coming back up to the top. That's enough of this, okay? Guys, I want to say, right, that like, you know, this was originally supposed to be a lesson about flipping and scaling value, right? Doing a luxury item. You know, if you are interested how to get like legit colognes and stuff, right? Of course, the margins probably won't be as crazy as his Fugaze stuff, but you're not going to serve 10 years in prison either. You know what I mean? But if you want to sell like legit things or whatever, I will do a whole episode on wholesale distribution and stuff like that, and we'll get into that. As far as recently the videos that I put out, so last Sunday we put out a workshop, right? Specifically talking about, you know, all the levels of e-commerce that is actually available to you guys, right? And I just wanted to say in that video, I specifically wanted to talk about, you know, all the different types of e-commerces out there, right? So besides flipping, okay, you have, you know, anything from like drop shipping to homemade goods and stuff, affiliate marketing, wholesale distribution, white labeling, private labeling, and stuff like that, right? So that's like 6 or 7, like off the top of my head. And the thing is this, right? What they all have in common, except for flipping, reselling, is that all of the rest of them have replenishable listings. All of them, except for flipping and reselling. So the problem is that it's very backwards what flipping and reselling is, because it's at its beginning stages, right? That's where you're supposed to first start off. Because essentially what you're doing is that you're going out and getting a whole bunch of single items and then selling them once. Ultimately, you're not supposed to have thousands of listings at one SKU trying to make one sale each. You're supposed to develop one listing that you could sell it many, many times. You could sell it thousands of times, right? Because that's what makes everything manageable. So if you are going to be flipping stuff, I would say you go into more luxury items. You would contact, you know, your local vendors and stuff like that. See if there are people dealing in perfumes and colognes in a legit way. You're getting actual verifiable goods, right? And before you do something like this. And then from there, you know, you level up to the next higher ticket item and the next higher ticket item. So I'm going to say this right now, right? Tech and Sports has this video where he specifically talks about, selling a yacht.
So you can spend all year, jump on the telephone, contact every single marina in the country and say, do you have a yacht for sale? Maybe you can find one yacht, one listing, and make $100,000. However, it's going to take a lot of telephone calls, a lot of boots on the ground, a lot of contacts in order to make that work. Or you can get 100,000 items, make 100,000 listings, make $1 each, and at the end of the year, both of these people are in the same position.
And he's used this example quite a few times in many of his videos. But the problem is that there's a false premise in there, which is, of course, you're not going to be a yacht salesman overnight. So you could do all the contacts and calls that you want. You're not going to make it. In order to make it, you have to slowly get there, right? You have to learn how to become a yacht salesman. We don't just become one overnight. So it's the same idea. If we go from, everyday items, which you don't need a lot of, product background to get into, and then we move into a higher ticket item. So maybe you have to learn more about, jewelry, watches, colognes, and stuff like that, depending on, what you want to level up into. And then after that, maybe we would start selling cars. So maybe you need a little bit more, acumen as far as dealing in cars. And then you become a house flipper. Now you have, to learn more about how to sell houses and be an escrow and all that good stuff, right? So that we get there. So if you're talking about being a yacht salesman or whatever, yeah, you're not going to do that now. You're not going to do that tomorrow, but you're supposed to work yourself up there. Because by then, how many yachts are you dealing with? It's going to be less SKUs at huge value, right? So that it's worth your time to do. And that's why there are jewelry dealers. That's why there are car dealerships. That's why there are people who are home builders and stuff like that, because those are huge high ticket items that's totally worth their time to do them one by one, right? Anyways, guys, that is today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, please give it a like. And if you learned something, please consider subscribing. As always, I'll see you guys in the next. Take care.